Hello and welcome everyone to day 6 of our 22-day spring psychic cleanse. Today we're going to be exploring your spiritual path and your spiritual community, featuring the Hierophant in the tarot deck. He's one of the major arcanas, and as you know, this 22-day psychic cleanse is following along the path of the hero's journey of the major arcana of the tarot. So today on day 6, we're going to dive deep into the importance of aligning our spiritual path along with our high selves and finding a supportive community that resonates with our authenticity. And as you know, in this spiritual exploration game, it's so easy to feel overwhelmed by the non-ending myriad of paths and belief systems that are out there. However, just as the Hierophant in the tarot offers guidance and wisdom, we too can find clarity by connecting with our higher selves and seeking out a community that mirrors our spiritual journey and our spiritual needs. So our spiritual path isn't just a series of rituals or practices, although that is a big part of the process. It's also a reflection of our inner truth and our true purpose. And so when we align with our higher selves, we tap into a wellspring of wisdom and guidance that leads us towards growth and fulfillment. So I want to backtrack to the rituals and practices and the customs that a lot of us grew up with, and why I think that they're still really important. And so I want to have a little disclaimer here and say, take what resonates with you and throw out the rest, because in this day and age, we can cherry pick the principles that we love, the rituals, the customs that we like, that align with us, and recreate or define our own spiritual path. And that's what this is all about. So when I was a kid, for example, I was raised Catholic and I went to Catholic school. There were parts of Catholicism that I love and adore to this day. I adore the stained glass. I love the smell of the incense. I love going into a mission. I'm obsessed with the missions, the California missions especially. And just the whole kind of formality of Mass was always appealing to me. Much less now. I haven't been to a Mass in ages, but if I am in a town where there's a mission, I'm going to stop by because they usually have really beautiful gardens and really good vibes. So what I'm saying here is that you are allowed to pick and choose, that one size does not fit all. Just because maybe you belong to a certain church or religion or custom or group doesn't mean that you have to adopt and believe every single thing they say. The one thing that comes to mind right now is like the 12-step program. The 12-step program is definitely a spiritual program. Some of the steps I think are not healthy for us, and so I just don't want to do those ones, and I will go ahead and do the ones that feel more aligned to me. So I want to give you permission to do the same. Pick and choose the things you like, because otherwise, if we are in judgment and we don't like one or two things, one or two steps, then we might throw out the entire program. Whereas I think some of those programs, rituals, places, meeting places are healthy for us, and we need them for many reasons. The first reason I want to talk about is our need for community. Community is a big deal. It's really essential for us to surround ourselves with a community that supports and uplifts us on our path. So whether it's through shared beliefs, experiences, or values, our spiritual community provides us with the nourishment and the encouragement that we need to thrive. And I know growing up in the Catholic Church and Catholic school, we were surrounded with community. You know, we were all on the same page there. You know, we all went to Sunday Mass, we all went to First Friday, we all went to the Holy Days Masses, and that's where we can see all of our friends. We can see all of our people that we grew up with, and I know it was a different time, where we had kind of more support and more connection. We used to go camping with our friends and things like that. Hopefully, today's culture and society finds their own way in adapting their communities to support them as well, right? But I think a lot has changed, most definitely. We have moved away from the institution of religion for many, many reasons, and I support that. I claim to be spiritual, not religious. However, we kind of lack spiritual communities because those usually look like churches. So here we are in a bit of a conundrum. One of the spiritual centers that I really enjoyed attending was Agape in Southern California with Reverend Michael Beckwith. Love, love, love Agape and everything it stands for. I don't necessarily enjoy the entire long service. So what I do, because I'm a cherry picker, I find the sermon part, where Michael speaks, and I just watch that on YouTube. Because I'm just not into the music part. It doesn't really do much for me. And I just want to cut to the chase and get to the meat of the thing. So that's my personality, but you guys can do whatever you like. And there's lots of different ways to, customize your spiritual plan and finding your community. So Ram Dass said, once upon a time, the spiritual journey is individual. It's highly personal. It can't be organized or regulated. It isn't true that everyone should follow one path. Listen to your own path. Words of wisdom. Or listen to your own truth. In a world that often pulls us away from our authentic selves, finding a spiritual tribe is like coming home to our true essence. It's kind of nice. We have a safe place to be, a safe place to fall. It's a place where we can express ourselves freely without judgment or pretense, and where we can celebrate the beauty of our individual journeys while honoring the interconnectedness of all beings. So, as we continue this psychic cleanse, let's remember to embrace the journey of self-discovery and our authenticity. That's what it's all about. Let's connect with our higher selves and seek out a community that resonates with the truth of who we are. And let's remember that in this journey of the soul, we're never alone. And so, fast forward to today, I would say the bulk of my community comes from my work. So I create this community by sharing my work. So you're not going to see me out in everyday meetups and everyday occurrences talking about this stuff. I don't think people are that interested, for one, and so I have a very strict don't ask, don't tell kind of policy with regards to my work. I tell people I'm a coach or a consultant. But when they know more and they ask more, of course I share more. There's no embarrassment here. It's just that, politics and religion and spirituality are very personal, and I keep them close to my vest. And so that's my choice, but I'm so super grateful for this community and for the work I do. I can't even imagine what my life would be without doing this work, because that's where I find all the people who think like I do, who resonate with me, who have a thirst for spiritual development and growth and to improve their intuitions and their psychic senses. That to me is exciting. And so when I meet people like that, and of course I do in my work, that is very fulfilling and satisfying. All right, so today's tarot character is the Hierophant. And if we take the word Hierophant, we can split it up, and we can take the first part, hair or higher, and we think of hieroglyphics, for example. That word hair or higher means sacred. And so the Hierophant is the keeper of the sacred rituals and customs. In my world, we call him the Pope, right? So let's dive into him and the wisdom that he offers. So if we look at the Hierophant card, there's the Pope in his red robe that looks very grounded. He's sitting on his big throne or his chair, and he's surrounded by two pillars. So the feeling of this is very stable. It's very serious. He has two keys in front of him. So he's got the keys of the universe of spirituality. He's got a couple of people standing in front of him. So that's his what do we call them? His students. And so he's there to bestow his knowledge onto his students. And so his whole vibe is being traditional. He doesn't like to rock the boat, right? So he likes to follow the path that has been tried and true. So in some instances, this can feel stifling, but there's always a place for it, I believe, in our lives for that tried and true. To go back to basics, to maybe we get a little too lofty and too out there, and I know it works for me. If I just go back to the basics and go by the book and do the things that have already been proven, then I can find my footing again, and then my creativity can soar, and then I can find innovative ideas to grow or progress whatever it is that I was stuck on, right? So here he is, the Hierophant, offering his insights to those seeking spiritual growth and their insights. So here he stands, dignified and resolute. He's a beacon of tradition, authority, and spiritual knowledge. The Hierophant beckons us to honor the wisdom of those who came before us, our ancestors, to respect the teachings of tradition, and to seek guidance from sources of profound insight. One of the things that this reminds me of is when I was a kid in Catholic school, we had a ritual every year called confirmation. Those of you who are Catholic know what I'm talking about. It's the equivalent to a bat mitzvah or a bar mitzvah, but it's with the whole class, not just one at a time. And then there's the quinceañeras. There are these customs, these cultural customs and religious rituals that honor the transition from child to adult. And then we celebrate, the whole community gathers around us. There's a big celebration, big dinners, presents, all kinds of fun stuff to celebrate that. And with that celebration comes a lot of support. And then as the kid going through this celebration, we feel an innate expectation that, oh, okay, they're expecting something new from us. I don't exactly know what it is yet, but now I'm listening, I'm paying attention. Okay. So then there's a celebration, a support, and an expectation for us to evolve and to grow and to up-level. And I have a theory about our current culture, and I look around and I see a lot of young people really struggling with this whole like a failure to launch or a prolonging to launch situation. And I really do think because we lack those structures, we lack a lot of us lack those rituals and customs to help support our young people to up level, right? And so it's almost like, you hit a certain age and it's like, well, good luck, you're on your own. And I felt very supported in my journey. And I knew that there was an expectation. I knew that, and it was celebrated. And it was like, yeah, all right, we're going to the next level. This is cool. So, one of my reasons for having this community is so that I can develop and innovate rituals and ways that I can help people and support people on these big milestones, in these big up-levelings in our lives. And that's what the whole journey of the hero's journey is about. It really speaks to all of the milestones. And so that is why we're doing the psychic cleanse, so that I can support you in your journeys And so you can realize that the experiences that you are having are a part of the human fabric, right? And that you're not alone, and there is support. And there are tried and true things and rituals, and just like the Hierophant says, that we can use. I call them tools to help us feel better, or to find our footing, or to move along in these processes without feeling overwhelmed or lost, right? So the Hierophant is that one who offers that spiritual guidance so that we can find that footing and feel safe and feel, structured. So the other side of the Hierophant is, so let's not make the mistake that the Hierophant's reverence is for blind obedience. Far from it. The card reminds us that true wisdom stems from a balance of respect for tradition and the courage to question, to challenge, and to forge our own path. It's really about embarking on our own individual journey while acknowledging the wisdom of those who have paved the way before us. So I love it. I'll take the wisdom of the people before me, and then I will modify it to suit my personality and my needs, and just get rid of the things that I don't agree with. And I find that to be perfectly appropriate. And let's not overlook the importance of community in the Hierophant's teachings. Just as he's often depicted surrounded by his disciples, this card emphasizes the power of finding like-minded individuals who share our spiritual values and support our growth. So whether it's a spiritual group, a mentor, a circle of friends, a community provides us with nurturing environment for our spiritual evolution. You can find it in your work. You can find it in a meetup. You can find it in a gardening club. You can find it in a hiking club. So any of those things that you do, those hobbies, those pursuits that bring you closer to source or to your higher self is your church, right? I used to be a runner, and I used to say running was my church, literally. When I ran, I would get the runner's high. I would always be out in nature, of course. I'd be outside. I would find beautiful places to go run, if not just in my neighborhood. And that's when I felt really close to God. My mind would be just kind of blank, and there's a euphoria that kind of happens, and it feels great. So running was my church. That's how I would connect and release any kind of stress or blockages that were keeping me from my tapping into my higher self or to my source energy. All right. So let's go on to tradition and ritual. So first, let's explore tradition. So I think of tradition as the glue that holds families and cultures together. So think of your grandma's secret recipes to those holiday customs passed down through the generations. Those traditions connect us to our roots and give us a sense of identity. They're like little time capsules of wisdom and love, reminding us of who we are and where we come from. So what rituals or traditions do you still hold on to? And how have you modified them, maybe? And then there's ritual. Now, the ritual is the magical ingredients that add a sprinkle of meaning and rhythm to our lives. And you know how much I love magic. And so whether it's a saying grace before a meal or blowing out your birthday candles, rituals create moments of pause and reflection in our busy days. They're like little bookmarks in the story of our lives, helping us to mark special moments, those milestones, and find beauty in the ordinary. What comes to mind for this is the whole ritual of marriage, the wedding ceremony. Wedding ceremonies are cool. They're amazing. And a lot of you know that I became a wedding officiant, about 15 years ago, out of doing this work. And it's one of my favorite things to do every year now. I do probably at least 10 to 20 weddings a year. I get to go to these beautiful places and see beautiful people who are on their best behavior in the energy of love and commitment and forging new families and this creation. It's really beautiful. And so that's when we take a time out. Everybody stops what they're doing and they go off to witness this love expressed between people, right? And so those are the things that cause the sweetness of life. And so some of those traditions and rituals are tried and true. They continue throughout the ages. And a lot of people have become very innovative with their wedding ceremonies and expressing themselves very uniquely. And I love being part of that process. It's a lot of fun. So, why are community tradition and rituals so important? Well, they give us a sense of connection. They give us a sense of grounding and purpose. They help us feel part of something bigger than ourselves and remind us that we're not alone in this wild ride called life. And to me, that's just good medicine. And if you think about one of my favorite books called The Blue Zones, it's a study of people around the globe who have the highest longevity. So they live to be well into their hundreds. One of the common ingredients in the Blue Zone is the people's sense of purpose. So the family members who are aged, they are not shipped off to a retirement home. They actually have a purpose in their families. So they might volunteer, they might work still, they might be responsible for taking care of the kids, they might, make breakfast or bread every morning. So there's a lot of purpose still expected from them and instilled in them, and that they love to continue to do, and it keeps them alive a lot longer. All right, so let's get into today's journal prompt. So hopefully you have your journal, and if not, you can download it from the show notes. So I'd like for you to reflect on a time when you felt a really deep sense of belonging and support within a community. When was that? When did you feel that last? I know that when COVID hit, it really kind of blew that whole thing up. Write about what made this experience meaningful for you. So how did it shape your understanding of the importance of community in your spiritual journey? And last, consider how you can cultivate and nurture a supportive spiritual community that aligns with your authenticity and your values. So there's your journal prompt. Just write about a time that you felt that deep connection. Alrighty, so our creative meditation for today. This is one of my favorites. I adapted it a little bit, but one of my favorite creative meditations is I see myself in a white lab coat in the laboratory of my mind's eye, where I'm figuring stuff out. I'm picking and choosing. I'm writing on my whiteboard with my dry erase pens, and I'm doing diagrams and just having fun mushing things together. So here's your creative meditation for today. In the quiet of your mind's eye, imagine yourself in a white lab coat writing on a whiteboard in your lab. You got your little dry markers. You have written 3 columns. Column number 1 says, things I love. Column 2 says, things I can do without. Column 3 says, how I would change things. Now I want you to recall your experiences with church and religion and spirituality that you have had in the course of your life. Just go through those scenarios and then fill out the columns on your whiteboard with your findings. The magic in doing this activity is that you are in the creation process of manifesting your ideal spiritual community. You get to decide. You get to create. What does it look like? Is it you sitting on a kayak in the middle of a lake by yourself? Is it you hiking with a bunch of people? Is it you sitting in a traditional church setting? You get to decide. You get to feel about what excites you when you think of having a spiritual path. All right? All right, let's get into the affirmation. I embrace the wisdom of the Hierophant within me, trusting in my inner guidance to navigate my spiritual path with clarity and authenticity. One more time. I embrace the wisdom of my Hierophant within me, trusting in my inner guidance to navigate my spiritual path with clarity and authenticity. Remember, there's only one you. This is your rodeo. You are the director of your movie, and you get to do whatever you want. That's the nice thing, right? And so within this spiritual development and the psychic cleanse, I'm so glad that you're deciding to do this work and creating more peace, more love, more stability in your own life. And if you would like to see this lesson written out, you can visit my website. It's on my daily blog post. And so my website is charlenemurphy.com. And just scroll down a little bit and you'll see the daily blog post that accompanies this podcast. All right, everybody. Thanks for being here today. I'm so excited for this podcast and for the evolution of your soul and for the cleansing of your spirit. I know you're just going to feel amazing. So until tomorrow, take good care. I'll see you then.